break?
I'm good. I guess we've never really
I don't
talked
think I've,
that much, have we?
I don't think I've ever talked to you. You and your brother always on your phone playing games whenever we were insisting or Veblen. And
I think I have a
anyway,
memory of one story you told us.
no, oh maybe. I've told a lot of stories.
Yeah.
My grandson Grayson he's going to college in Sioux Falls, and he came up here one time to interview me for a sociology test, I guess. He interviewed me about Vietnam, I think, and I never heard any more about that, whether he passed or not. But anyway, what do you need to know?
Okay, so we'll just start with what was your opinion of the war
Then or now?
then?
Then?
Yeah.
Well, I didn't want to go, so I really didn't have an opinion because I was kind of young. I wasn't even 21 yet, so I didn't want to go. Nobody wanted to go.
Okay. So, if you said you didn't want to go, did you ever so I guess, were you drafted to the Army or did you volunteer to go?
I was drafted.
Okay. So, was there ever a time where you considered dodging the draft to avoid military service?
No.
Okay.
I did a lot of partying before I went into the service, so.
Okay. So you would say you didn't support the war then?
Well, I can't say yes and I can't say no, but I didn't know what it was really all about. I went to North Dakota State School of Science at the time, and well, we had to sign up for the draft when we turned 18 when I was in high school, and I graduated right after I turned 18, so, and I was a little scared of the deal going over there because you always see war movies on TV and hear it on the radio, and then my dad was in World War II, so we got a few stories. Well, he didn't talk too much about it, but I got a few stories from him, but mostly from my grandmother, Bessie.
Okay.
My dad was the only child of my grandmother, so.
So, because your grandpa told you stories or you heard stories about World War II, did you have an idea about what it would be like before you went over there?
No, I had no idea.
Okay. So, what was your role when you were in the Army? What was your role? What was your job?
Well, I was a combat mechanic.
Okay.
I fixed Army vehicles. They tried to keep them going anyway.
So,
I traveled around with infantry guys. There was a mechanics personnel carrier, and we just traveled with the company.
okay.
If one of them loses a track, but we did maintenance on the track vehicle, and there was just me and probably 5 other guys.
Okay. So with that, did you ever have any combat experiences?
Well, I had been into conflicts. We get the North Vietnamese Army, and we pulled road security. Our company pulled road security for convoys and stuff, and we loggered out, or you might say camped out in rice paddies and built bunkers and pulled guard duty, and worked up and did maintenance on the vehicles, and built bunkers if I didn't mention that, and we got hit a few times. Vietnamese attacked us, usually at night.
Okay. So were you ever wounded in any of those attacks?
No.
Okay.
Learn to keep my head down.
That's good. So since the Vietnam War was like during like the Cold War era, what was your opinion on communism at the time?
Well, I wasn't into history too much. You know, in high school and stuff, we had, all through like school, they have history on, a little bit on communism. It was, Khrushchev was in Russia, and Vietnam was kind of right off of China there, so, and Chinese were communism. But I didn't have any idea what communism really was.
Okay. So, what was your opinion on how like President Johnson handled the war at the time?
Well, let's see. I got over there. You don't hear too much about Johnson in Vietnam, and of course, when we got back, Johnson didn't seek a second term, mainly because of the headache of Vietnam, because John F. Kennedy was assassinated in, I think, 1964, and I was a junior in high school. And then Johnson was the vice president, so he took over at that time. And then all he ever did was, I don't know if it was Johnson that pulled us out of Vietnam or if it was Nixon. No, I can't remember. But Johnson was always, all I ever seen like on TV was him, like the presidents, they always get a pet. Johnson had a dog, a beagle, that got more attention than the president.
Okay. So, what were like the conversations you had with like your fellow soldiers over there? Like what did you talk about during like downtime?
Oh, we played cards in the evening and just BS stuff. You know, we didn't really talk about what was actually going on over there. Maybe the infantry guys did, but the mechanics, we repaired our vehicles at night, and we pulled road security for the convoys and stuff, and we played with the Vietnamese kids, and they had Coke kids out there selling Cokes, and they make their sandwiches, and they ride these little mopeds up and down the road, and then some of the people, women and stuff, they'd have these kind of poker games or something with dice, and we'd play dice with them, and they'd exchange their money with ours. They wouldn't pay us back, but with U.S. money.
Okay.
But it was just we spent more time talking talking to the kids and stuff over there because they were younger than you were, but
Yeah. So, what did you think of the weather over there, and how is it like different than what you were used to back like when you lived at home?
it sucked. They had two seasons as far as I know. One was a dusty time, which it choked you to death riding up and down the roads on the old dirt roads on the personnel carriers. And then they had the monsoon season. It just rained continuously, and you're out in it.
Okay.
And wading in it. And
Okay.
so I don't know if I really liked, well, neither one of the seasons I cared for it, but the rainy season, even though the temperatures were over probably 120 degrees and you still get cold, you have to wear a jacket during the rainy season. And then during the Dust Bowl season over there, it was so hot and dirty that, and you didn't get to take showers all the time. If you rode around a lot of times in a personnel carrier during the dusty season, it was a godsend when it started raining, you get your shower. Some of our rice paddies said, well, I built a shower over there for my company area. I built it out of, because I was kind of an old carpenter. I built a bunker out of projectile boxes, and then I built a shower with a fuel tank up on top of it. And then the water wagon would come around and fill it full of water in the morning, and then the sun would heat it up during the day. And then, of course, we tried to make life comfortable out there in those rice paddies. And I would build old tables and chairs, and I built doors on our bunker. And the mechanics, we all pooled our money together, and we bought a TV. And I used tent poles with oven grates for an antenna. And so we'd watch TV on a battery-operated TV, kind of a small one, and then I built a bar down in one of the bunkers one time, and we managed to get enough money to buy an electric TV. We run over to the old, what the heck you call it, communication. They got generators over there, and we'd run a line clean across the rice paddy and power our TV. And we bought oscillating fans, me and my Army buddy, and I put wooden floors on our side of the bunker and louvered windows so that no light would shine out, but we'd get ventilation inside. I put screen over the louvered doors so we'd keep the mosquitoes out because they were terrible. And I survived. I had to drive personnel carriers a couple times. Some of the guys would go on R&R, that's rest and relaxation. They get a kind of a 7-day pass or something to go somewhere, and then I'd have to drive the personnel carrier, and that's kind of spooky because I'm not a driver. I could fix them, but I wasn't too good at driving them.
Okay. How long were you over in Vietnam?
380 days. Actually, a tour over there is 365 days. But they came out with this, if you extend over there in Vietnam and you have less than 6 months when you come back to the States, you get an early out. So I got out 6 months early. I extended for 15 days. And and I had to make sure that I hit it right on the money because I didn't want to come home and have to serve another 6 months because I didn't really know what to do with you because you're kind of there's nothing you could do anymore, because everybody else is being trained. I'd already been trained, so I thought I could have become an instructor for 6 months, but.
Okay. And what was like the training and preparation like?
Basic training was something I've never experienced before. That was, you weren't allowed to make phone calls home. You had to do marches at night, like from midnight to 4 o'clock in the morning with your field packs, and learn how to fight with a rifle and with a bayonet, and learn how to shoot. And a drill sergeant would be over you all the time, just screaming and hollering at you. And you're always hungry and marching. And then when I got done with that, after 7 weeks, I went to Fort Huachuca, Arizona. I went to a wheel school, working on Jeeps. That was a piece of cake because the base camp down there was they give you bus rides right in the company area or the whole area, and they got an indoor swimming pool down there, and it was just like a big vacation. And weather was nice down there. It wasn't hot and it wasn't cold. And then we rented a car. We had a weekend pass. We rented a car in Cerro Vista, Arizona, and we went to Tucson, Arizona. A bunch of us guys pitched in, pooled in, and rented a car. And then we got a convoy, took us down to Nogales, Mexico, or to a bullfight. However, we didn't go to the bullfight. We just kind of roamed around the streets. And I don't really know if Nogales is split between Mexico and the United States. I'm not exactly sure what side of the borderline I was on, but I didn't care. And then from there, when I graduated, I went to Fort Sill, Oklahoma. And there I went to a track school, working on track vehicles. And Fort Sill, Oklahoma was hot and humid. And then we get a weekend pass, depending on if we kept the barracks and stuff clean, we'd get a weekend pass, and we'd go into Lawton, Oklahoma. A bunch of us guys would go in there and just horse around. And I graduated from there, then I got a 28-day leave before I went to Vietnam. Went to Oakland, California, and flew to, I don't know if it was Juneau or Anchorage, Alaska. We weren't allowed off the plane. And then from there we went to Japan. And then we kind of made deals with the Army buddies that we'd pick some day and then we'd all meet in Japan on R&R. However, we didn't have contact with each other anymore when I went to my unit. So I got my 7-day R&R. I went to Sydney, Australia. And then I just kind of roamed the streets, I should say. Does that sound like fun? Something like you'd like to do?
Yeah, it does sound like fun seeing like all those places like Japan and Australia, I guess.
Some of the married guys would get to go to Hawaii. And my Army buddy, I think, went to Malaysia, I think. And then, of course, I was so glad to get out of there. I was afraid I was going to miss my plane. And then we flew to, I think, Singapore. We weren't allowed off the plane. We just refueled. And we flew then to Hawaii. We got to get off the plane, and we just went into the terminal, waited for the plane to get refueled, and that was an experience. I went over there on a 747 jet, and then I come home on a 747, and I think I was over the wing. There's 3 aisles of seats. There were 3 seats on each wing side, and I can't remember how many in the middle. And they had movies. Dean Jones and the Love Bug. I don't know if you'd ever seen it or not.
I think I've seen clips of it.
And that's when it was awesome because the stewardess were all wearing mini skirts. And I never seen women wear mini skirts before, but and then I processed out in Oakland, California again. We got our final pay. Took 24 hours to process out of the service, and I was refitted for all my clothes. But I left them there for the Salvation Army because I didn't think I needed military clothes back in civilian life. And then we flew to Denver, Colorado. And from there, I got a plane to Sioux Falls. It was a turboprop, I think they call them. And I fell asleep. And then I got to Sioux Falls, and I went to the bus depot, and I bought a ticket for Aberdeen, South Dakota. I was trying to get as close to home as I could, and I tried to call my mother, Grandma Beverly, and I couldn't get a hold of her, so I called my grandmother, Grandma Green, and I told her, I said, I bought a bus ticket. I said, I'll be in Aberdeen at 6 o'clock tonight. And she said, well, it's 6 o'clock now. So I missed my bus. I forgot to set my watch back or ahead. Yeah, I forgot to set my watch ahead. And then Grandpa Willis and Grandma Bev came to Sioux Falls and picked me up. That's when I met your mother. Your mother was from July 4th till September 18th or something like that, however old she would be.
Nice. That's pretty cool.
So everything wasn't Vietnam, but just a lot of it was like stateside. And coming home and coming to Veblen. And
so how do you feel you were received when you came home? Did you feel you were welcomed back?
Yeah, some of my friends that were even still around yet, they welcomed me home, and we started hanging out together. But I've always been asked, if I was called a baby killer or if I was rejected. But no, I never ran into any of that in Veblen. So, but I was always kind of felt appreciated. And right now, to this day, if somebody knows that I've been in Vietnam or I'm a veteran, they'll say, welcome home and thank you for your service. But I never run into some of the West Coast people, they were called the GIs, like Rambo. You ever watch the movie Rambo?
Yeah, I've seen it before, I think.
Yeah, well, they didn't welcome him home and called him baby killers, and he couldn't get a job. And I didn't have any problems. Never had a problem with a job, and nobody ever looked down at me about only reason too, because I was an infantry mechanic, but
Well, that's
fun,
good.
fun. Huh?
That's good. I'm happy to hear that you didn't have any troubles with that.
But
I guess
oh,
my last question would be: have you had any like reunions with any of the people you served with?
well, I met my Army buddy after 50 years. I met him down in Fort Atkins, Nebraska. He drove all the way from over by St. Louis, Missouri. He drove all the way over there and spent an afternoon with us. And then they have had reunions. I think Ashley, my granddaughter, was going to book me for to go to the Wall. I don't know if that's Washington, D.C. But it fell through. I don't know why. She didn't let me know in time, I guess, or I really wasn't interested in going. And I belong to the Triple Deuce. Oh, they send out a little magazine that once a month. They have reunions all over the United States and Washington and Nebraska and Missouri and I've never went. And because it just nobody wanted to go to them and talk war stories. And of course, the cost of it, you have to buy your own plane ticket. The meals are outrageous in the motel rooms, and
Yeah. That actually that reminds me. Have you ever been to the Vietnam Memorial in D.C.?
No.
Okay. I think my mom might have some questions for you.
They got a kind of a memorial in Pierre, South Dakota. They got a wall up there, mostly with the South Dakota names on it.
Okay. So
I think, well, there's a lot of places that got some memorials, but you gonna say, Kelly?
yeah, I've never really heard your stories, so this is kind of interesting to me. So you've been to the one in Pierre, the Vietnam Memorial in Pierre?
Yeah, that's at the Capitol building there in Pierre.
Okay. Like when you were...
It just got the names of some of the South Dakota guys that had died over there.
Okay. So
and it seems to me there's someplace else that got some memorials. I can't remember where was that. Or some of the smaller towns and stuff got them. But I've been at the one at the Capitol in Pierre a couple times.
Like, do you have any interest in going to D.C. to see the one in Washington?
Yeah, not really. I don't even know if I'd know anybody anymore. Well, I had one guy I was befriending over there. His last name was Sturgeon, I think. Sturgeon or Sturgis. I met him over there in Vietnam. He was kind of a cool young guy, and he wore these square-colored, rose-colored glasses. And he was a mechanic for battalion maintenance. And we just kind of spoke obscene gestures to one another. I got kind of friendly with him, but he got our Dao Tiang, our base camp, got hit by Vietnamese one night, and he got killed. And one of the other mechanics in battalion maintenance was wounded, and he got sent home. And that's when Dao Tiang got overrun that night. We were in a rice paddy, so we weren't in Dao Tiang, and the Dao Tiang got hit, and they really raised heck with it, and blew up planes, and that had the above ground pool too. That was it used to be a French fortress instruments, and they had a great big above ground awesome pool. We went down there and of course the PX there on base camp was we spent quite a bit of time there by cameras, and that's some of those pictures I think your mother had I had taken that your mother's got. I don't know, you had them in that scrapbook, I think, Kelly.
Oh, yeah.
Some of those pictures.
Yep.
I bought a camera. That's when it was a cartridge camera. It was a 23 millimeter or something like that. And I sold that before I come home because I didn't want to bring a bunch of that junk home.
So when you said that you were over there 380 days, or was that whole 380 days in Vietnam, or was that like how much of that was training time?
That was the whole time in Vietnam, 380 days,
Oh.
except for the 7-day leave when I went to Australia.
So then on top of that 380 days, you also had like so many days or months of like training time?
Yeah, that before I went over to Vietnam, I had seven weeks of basic training. That's where they teach you how to defend yourself with a rifle and bayonet and marching, just making you obey your commands and stuff. And then when I went to Fort Huachuca, Arizona, I think that was another 7 weeks. And then after Fort Huachuca, Arizona, I went to Fort Sill, Oklahoma, and I think that was another 7 weeks. And I made squad leader when I was in Fort Huachuca, and then I got to be squad leader in Fort Sill, Oklahoma too. So squad leader is just kind of you march out in front of your squad. It'd be a platoon actually, and then you get four squads.
So you're the first one to get shot at. So you were the first one to get shot at if you're out front.
Well, I was going to wheel school down in Fort Huachuca, and then track school in Fort Sill, so when nobody's being shot at, and you're not really training to fight then. You're just training how to fix vehicles. But in basic training, you learn how you do bivouac, which is camping out in the woods and pulling guard duty, and that bivouac I went on through, they got a bunch of guys that they're cooks and stuff, and when you get your noon meal or whatever, that you got your little mess kit. It's just a pan and a canteen, your cup, and you go through the line, and this cracked me up. This is a story I always tell, but you come up to the mess people, and you're having roast beef and gravy, mashed potatoes, and a vegetable, and you come up to them and they says, "What do you want?" I says, "Scoop of potatoes." So they put on a scoop of potatoes, and then you come up to the roast beef, and they slap a piece of roast beef on your little plate. It's only one little aluminum tray, and then they put gravy on. "Well, I don't know if you want gravy." Yeah. I says, "Well, you want vegetables?" Yeah. So they put the vegetables right on top of the mashed potatoes, gravy, and the roast beef. And then you come up to, what do you want for dessert? And ice cream or something. So they put the ice cream right in with the mashed potatoes, and what do you want to drink? Iced tea or coffee? Well, iced tea. So they put the iced tea right in with the mashed potatoes. And then they laugh. What you got then is soup. And then my partner carries a half a tent. It's just a little two-man tent that hooks together, and they took us out into the woods. And this was a forced march. We had to march 12 miles. And the new boots and stuff, I got blisters on my feet so bad. And we got out there in the woods, and they come around. The last guy on guard duty on one of the other tents comes up, and he sends you out, wakes you up, and you have to go out there for guard duty. But you have to count your steps because it's so dark in the Washington woods out there. And then I got woke up, and I went out there to pull my guard duty, and I couldn't see a thing. And then some of the other guys were out there growling like bears because they kind of warned us about bears out there. And then you have, when your time is up, you have to find your way back to the tent, and it's pitch black. You could just well been blind. And I was afraid I was going to miss my tent and get lost out there by myself. But I made it back.
All right. Do you have anything else, Eric, to ask?
No, I don't.
Anyway, Eric's going to join the Army then?
Probably not.
I don't think you sold him on it.
Well, some people, my Army buddy, he enlisted. Then he got out. He went home before I did over from Vietnam, and he got home and he had his dad buy him a Z-28 Camaro. And that's when he was living in Streamwood, Illinois. And he was, I don't know how long he was out, but he went back in again. So he was in a total of 13 years. And he went into artillery in the States. I don't think he went anyplace else other than the States, but. And then he got a hold of me. Well, actually, the Triple Dude, somebody called me one day and wanted to know who this was. And he said, Charles Justice, give me my name, he said. And he says, I was asking him if there's anybody that Charles knew that he could get contact, and he mentioned me. He said the last he knew of me was in Veblen. Somehow or another, he got a hold of Veblen, and whoever he talked to in Veblen had given him my phone number here. So I don't know if he got a hold of, I don't know who he got a hold of, but he get my phone number. And that's when I made contact with Charles Justice, because he gave me his phone number, and I called Charles. We've been keeping in contact quite a bit here for the last few years. But. Anyway, doesn't that sound fun, Eric?
Maybe. I mean, you served in the Army and Grandpa Willie served in the Army, so it kind of runs in the family. So if a major war pops up in the next few years, maybe I'll get drafted, but hopefully not.
There's no draft anymore. It's all voluntary.
I guess, yeah. Well, as
And then, of course, if you volunteer, they give you an education, and you're ranked, and of course you have to go through pretty much basic training, but I think they're a little bit more lenient than they were when I went in. But
You got all you need, Eric?
yeah, it's just thank you for your time with the interview, and thank you for your service.
Okay, thank you. I get that quite a bit, but.
Did you stop
So,
your recording?